Hello and welcome back to the TViP Movie Recap. Today, we are going to recap a 2023 movie named Hidden Strike. Starring Jackie Chan and John Cena. Keep alert, spoilers incoming. In the opening scene, Lu Fong is leading a task force team, heading for an extraction mission of Chinese employees, working for a refinery company called Utami in Iraq. The employees are facing constant attacks from rebels, and upon reaching the site, they meet the professor, who is in charge of the refinery, works at the company. She informs Foam about the constant attacks from the rebels in the past weeks, and about 400 people need to be extracted. We get introduced to Chris, an ex-military who now stays in the desert. Shortly, one vehicle approaches with a team LED by his brother, named Henry. Henry pays him for their recent deal, in which Henry confirms that no one was hurt. Chris teases the other teammates, giving them nicknames though. One of them, named Knox, doesn't seem happy about it. Suddenly, Henry drafts to Chris a mission from a company named Unicorp. They plan on going after one international criminal who supplied arms to the rebels that attacked them in the past. Henry informs him that he learned that the criminal is among the extraction team that came with Foam. Knowing that the extraction team would be passing through a dangerous zone named the Highway of Death, Chris decides to decline the mission. Back to the village where he stays, one employee of Unicorp named Owen Paddock arrives to check on their water system, with a report that they no longer receive water. Owen checks out the system. He reports the problem to Chris and tell him that it would be fixed for a sum of $100,000. Chris informs him that he would do what he can to see that he gets the money, because the village needs the water. Back to the extraction team, they decide that they would be using the Highway of Death because the other areas are controlled by the rebels. This would be the quickest path to the safe place. Named the Green Zone though, Chris is still worried where he would get the money. At the refinery, they are now closing the plant, and the professor downloads all the safety codes and shut down the system. She puts the USB with the codes in the bag and hand it to her assistant, named May, while boarding the buses for departure. May gets separated from the professor to move to another bus shortly. One man marks the bus in which the professor sat, as May moves to the bus LED by Foam, who seems happy upon seeing her. The team gets ready for departure, and after getting ready, they set off with the choppers. Oswald phone checks on all his task force, and everything seems to be under control. On their way, it is revealed that May is Fang's estranged daughter. Shortly, they reach the Highway of Death, and concerning how dangerous the place is, Phone orders May to sit down and lock her seatbelt. Oswald the drive then resumes, but after a while they come across a car roadblock, but Fong proceeds to run into them. The place being full of mines, the cars explode, but Fong and his team safely continue on their way. They notice one boy requesting for water, but realizing it might be a trap, they proceed without helping him out. When Fong informs May that he would protect her, she gets furious, accusing him for abandoning her with her mom. He informs her that he was on a top mission and had to serve the country. May takes it as an excuse because his family needed him more. She informs him that she hasn't forgiven him yet, amidst his collecting a task force team to come save her. After seeing her name on the evacuation list, shortly they encounter a sandstorm, which makes Foam wonder, because according to the weather forecast, there wasn't any report of a sandstorm. They proceed ahead, though Foam is still unsatisfied with the sandstorm, as well as its movement shortly. They start to lose their communication signals, but suddenly desert cars start to approach them. It is revealed that Chris finally took the mission and inform him about the marked bus that they need. Chris and his team starts with jamming the signals of the extraction team, and then start their attacks on one of the buses. One of them jumps in the marked bus and sees control of it, warning all the passengers to stay down. They approach another bus, but upon moving inside, a fight breaks out as one lady on Fang's task force puts up a challenge to stop the attackers. The fight takes a while, not until when she gets thrown outside, and the second bus also gets seized. The two seized buses drive off course, though Phone is unaware due to the lost communication signals. Upon moving out of the sandstorm, he senses danger because some of the drivers don't respond to his call. He orders for a sudden stop, hence realizing that two of their buses are missing, which adds up to his questioning of the sandstorm. On the other hand, Chris realizes that he was set up to attack the wrong people. Foam reports to one of his captain about the missing buses and requests made to help him recover them. The chopper returns to help them find out, and upon flying over the desert, they come across a jet, which was used in blowing the sand. Shortly, they find one abandoned bus, and the only surviving soldier informs them about what happened and the direction where the assailants went. Chris and his team are on their way leaving, but shortly the chopper notices them. Foam orders the remaining team to head to the green zone, and a gunfight breaks out between the two parties. One of the cars get knocked down, which worries Chris that they might be all wiped out. He loses a plan to trick the chopper by leaving one of their car behind unnoticed. They suddenly stop to start shooting at the chopper, which diverts the pilot to only focus on them. Suddenly, Chris orders Knox to move out and starts shooting at the chopper. By surprise, Knox drives out of his hiding spot and shoots at the chopper, damaging it to fall down. Foam and the other team notice the second abandoned bus, hence Foam moving down to check it out. He moves inside and realizes some people still inside, but the professor and some few other people are missing. Chris confronts Henry on who employed him, but shortly recognizes Owen. Owen approaches the professor, and it is revealed that Owen has been the one behind the attacks. On the refinery company, he orders Knox to take her away, and later have a talk with Chris. He reveals to him about his plans to take over the refinery company, claiming that it's 16 years of him suffering, yet the Chinese have been enjoying the oil privileges. Chris informs him that he is not ready to be part of his plans, and all he wants is the payments for the job they previously accomplished. Owen informs him that he can only be paid after fully accomplishing the job, which is to take out Foam, who might be a barrier in Owen's plans. He threatens Chris that he won't help him with fixing the village water, but Chris sticks on his plan of leaving. Henry approaches him to persuade him into staying, but Chris proceeds to leave. After telling him that he is waiting for his payments, Henry tries to convince Owen that he would handle Foam, but Owen shockingly kills him. That he failed his other men also get killed. Oswell as one of the captives accidentally. Owen confirms that Henry is dead and orders his men to dispose the bodies. Still patrolling in the desert, Foam notices one car and decides to follow it. He tries to shoot at it, but suddenly gets informed that it's heading to a certain village. Hence, changing his plans, he decides to go there alone. Though Chris is angry after what happened. Foam moves to the village, where Chris is playing baseball with one kid. He suddenly shows up facing Chris and informs him that he wants his people back. He wonders what Chris is doing in the desert, but Chris sarcastically tells him that he is fishing. The two men get heated, but as they get close to each other, in an attempt to fight, the kid calls Chris to play. This prompts Fong to spare the fight, but warned Chris that they would be meeting soon. Later on, Chris sets off to collect his money from Henry, though Fong notices him upon reaching the place. He finds Henry's corpse inside, but Fong is stalking him. He moves near Henry's corpse, which saddens him for the loss, but shortly hears something. Fong moves inside and starts to look for him all around, though Chris heard him before and went hiding. Surprisingly, he moves out of his hiding spot, and a fight breaks out between the two. Chris wonders why Fong is following him, but Fong questions him again, what he is doing in the desert. As the fight gets tense, Fong questions him why they killed his people, but Chris denies killing anyone. The fight continues, because Fong fails to believe any of Chris's words, believing that he was behind the attacks on his people. Chris nearly knocks Henry's corpse with a forklift, but Fong saves it. Chris tries to explain to him that the same people that attacked his people are the ones that killed his brother. Shortly, some Frenchmen, who Chris owes, move inside and ask him for their money. But upon seeing Chris and Fong with a grenade, they run outside. Fong informs Chris that they might be coming back for him, and upon checking outside, the Frenchman opens up fire on them. With the constant shootings, Chris and Fong run to safety and start to improvise ways of saving themselves. Caught up in a tough time, they decide to team up and utilize the available weapons. They start using grenades with Fong, pulling out the pins and Chris throwing them outside. After a while, they realize that the Frenchman might be gone, but Fong puts Chris at gunpoint. inquiring who killed his people. Chris informs him that he wouldn't find out if he kills him, hence moving outside, where they find Chris's car destroyed by the bullets. The place being filled with weapons, they choose to explode it, and Chris informs Phone that the person behind the death of his people is Owen. Accidentally, Chris speaks Chinese, which wows Phone, and Chris reveals that he worked in China before, for a private security company. On the other hand, Owen is attempting on getting oil from the refinery, but realizes it's protected by a quantum dangle. He asks the professor to give him the security codes, but the professor refuses, knowing that he wants to steal the oil. This pushes Owen to kill one of the hostages, but the professor still hesitates, which prompts him to kill another person. Knowing that she is committed, Owen approaches the remaining hostage, who happens to be the professor's son. The professor breaks down and reveals that the codes are in the bag she left with May. Her son informs them to track the professor's phone, hence dialing it, and May picks it reluctantly, though she hears nothing over the phone. As Chris plays with the children, Phone gets notified that the other passengers reach safely at the green zone. He asks May who called before, but she informs him that she never realized them, but they called on the professor's phone. Phone joins Chris in playing with the orphans, after realizing he is a good man who takes care of them later on. They sit together, and Phone reveals that he stole a book, which happens to belong to May. Fong informs him that May is his daughter, though it is revealed that ever since when she lost her mother, even Fong seems dead to her, because he wasn't there for them. Chris informs him that after the death of his father, he chose to live a simple life in the desert. Shortly, they hear some footsteps who happen to be Owen's men. Chris and Phone position themselves and start to take out the men silently. They agree to use hand signals to avoid making sounds, and proceed dispatching the men. Shortly, they acquire guns and Chris takes out one man, but unluckily, he near gets hit with an RPG. He goes to May and collects the phone, which he shows to Owen's men, who have all come out to face each other. They inform Chris that they are after the bag, which he collects from May and throw to them. May wonders why they handed them the bag, and Chris informs her that it's better they take the bag and save the village people. When they leave, May informs them that bag contains a USB, with codes and information of the refinery. Chris learns that they plan on an oil heist that could be worthy $100 million for each truck. Chris and Foam decide to go put a stop on their plan, but May requests to go with them, since she knows the refinery well. Foam stops her from going with them, that it is dangerous where they are heading. Though unhappy about the decision, she informs him to be careful, because the refinery is flammable. They move to the truck to head out, while the village people stares, but May notices another car. Owen receives the USB, which he takes to the professor, and forcefully order her to restart the refinery program. Eventually, they begin to extract the oil, though Chris and Foam have also arrived near the refinery. The guards at the entrance tried to stop them from getting closer, but instead they just increased the speed, knocking all the barriers in their path. The guards nearly shoots them with an RPG, but they manage to dodge it and proceed inside, where they knock a tower to stop the loaded truck from moving out. Owen realizes their presence, but they move out of the truck to start a fight against Owen's men. The fight gets tense outside, which prompts Owen to take out the USB to prevent them from stopping the extraction. Chris and Fong continue to dispatch the soldiers outside, and Owen shortly shows up to mock Fong that he won't manage to stop him alone. They move up to approach the server room to save the professor and her son, but encounter some men on the way. They team up to attack the remaining guard, who happens to be Knox, and a fight breaks out in the server room. With Knox putting up a great challenge, they lure a plan where Chris diverts him, and Foxtrot surprisingly attacks him. Phone informs him to go after Owen, leaving him to handle Knox, but upon moving outside, he finds Owen leaving. He tries to chase them, but suddenly stops, though he recognizes his car shortly approaching. He finds May inside and orders her to go after Owen, while Fong and Knox are still fighting. Knox runs after the professor, but Fong uses the aqueous film, forming foam to stop him from getting to her. Owen suddenly notices that they are being followed, hence opening fire on them, but they try to dodge the bullets. Foam and Knox continue with their fight. In the foam, though, Owen and his teammate run out of bullets. This forces them to drive off the road, but Chris tells May to pursue them. After a long struggle in the foam, Foam suddenly manages to finish off Knox. After dragging him into the pipes, he calls the professor to move out of the hiding spot with her son, but she informs Foam that the refinery can't be shut down because Owen took the USB. Chris and May continues with the chase, and Chris tells May to drive faster, but shortly encounter a steep slope. Owen being with a desert car, they manage to bypass it, but when May attempts to jump Oswell, they end up getting an accident, with the car getting dismantled. Owen proceeds to run with the oil trucks, though Chris feels angry about his car stranded in the desert. They shortly notice Foam with the truck and stop him. To join him, they move inside and the chase continues. But the truck seems slower, yet Owen already distanced them. May shows them a shortcut, but it doesn't seem enough for them, which prompts Chris to tell Foam to activate the jet so that the truck gets an extra turbo. Upon activating it, the truck gets faster, and after a short time, they see Owen's convoy. Foam runs into one of the oil trucks and set fire on the second truck, which causes an explosion and damages the third truck. In the process, the third truck bumps into Owen's car, killing his partner on the spot. Though Owen barely survives, he moves to another car to escape, but Chris warns him that he killed his brother. After the damage is encountered and the leakage, Chris and Owen find ways of having their truck running. Again, finally, they manage to get it back on the run, and with the extra support, they manage to run into Owen's car and drag it along on their way. After a short drive, they notice a cliff, hence Foam tying May on the seat and jump out of the truck, which falls down the valley, but they manage to hang on an edge with the rope tied on Owen's car. Owen suddenly decides to take away himself, along with them, but as the car falls down, Foam hurriedly unlocks the rope, saving themselves on the near edge of death. They begin to call Chris, who happens to be missing, and without any reply, they begin to worry, thinking he might be dead. May notices her lost book with a photo of both of them, which prompts her to forgive her father, after learning he cares for her silently. Shortly, Chris pulls himself up and they help him out, but Foam sarcastically warns him to stay away from his daughter. Stranded on how they would get out of mountains, they being to shout for help, and in the mid-credits, the village people are seen happy, after getting the water, bringing the movie to the end.